All right, we're ready to get going again. Didn't you love those train videos? I just love hearing steam engines. They're really cool, and listening to the sounds, and then the videos showing how they work help us understand that part of the Industrial Revolution. That invention, it's a really cool invention. We're going to read kind of a shorter text today about steamboats, which work on the steam engines we read about, and canals. Canals are kind of like big holes, big long holes dug from city to city and filled with water, so that boats can travel on them from city to city. Maybe a place where there's not a river. They basically dig a river. That's amazing to think about, isn't it? But it's what they did to get goods from one city to another. We'll read about it in today's lesson. This text called Steamboats and Canals. And you'll have some questions on this, so you want to listen carefully. Also, I'll put these texts in your questions like I did yesterday, so you won't need to come back to these slides to find the answers. Factories, such as the ones built by Samuel Slater, worked in part because of changes that were taking place in transportation. You see, while America was growing bigger, the time it took to get from one place to another was shrinking. So there were bigger cities, more cities, but you could get to them faster because of the new transportation of the steam engine. Rivers were the early highways of America. The best way to get anything or anyone from one place to another was to do it by the river. The problem with river travel, however, was the current. It was easy to go downriver, but difficult or impossible to go against the current. That's why early Nashville residents typically floated downriver to get to New Orleans, but either walked or rode a horse up the Natchez Trace to get back. The steamboat changed all that. Steamboats had engines that could propel boats upstream for the first time. In 1807, Robert Fulton invented a steamboat and began running it on a regular service on the Hudson River between New York City and Albany, New York. Within a few years, steamboats were replacing flatboats and keelboats on rivers and bays across America. Now, they work the same way that the trains do, the same type of engine. Instead of turning wheels, they turn that big paddle on the back of the boat to make the boat move. The steamboat reduced greatly the time and trouble of getting from one part of the United States to another. It also made it more profitable to grow cotton in North Carolina and to ship it to New England to be made into cloth. Remember, the big farms were down in the South, and the factories were mostly up north, so you had to get your cotton grown in the South up north, and one way to do that was on a steamboat. Get there quicker. There's one canal that's a famous canal called the Erie Canal. If you look at a map of the United States, your eyes are drawn to the 5 Great Lakes. This leads to a question. Are the Great Lakes connected to the Atlantic Ocean? In the early 1800s, the answer was no. But in 1807, a New York flour merchant named Jesse Hawley wrote a series of articles about how great it would be if someone dug a canal connecting the Hudson River to Lake Erie. Were a canal to be built, Hawley wrote, the trade of almost all of the lakes of North America would center at New York for their common mart. And in a century, its island would be covered with the buildings and population of its city. At first, people thought the idea was crazy, especially since Hawley was in jail at the time. But his idea was eventually adopted by the state of New York. It led to the construction of the 363-mile-long Erie Canal, which opened in 1825. The Erie Canal was originally only 12 feet wide. Boats were dragged by mules at a pace not much faster than a person could walk. However, from the day it opened, the canal made it much cheaper to get raw materials such as corn and lumber from the Great Lakes to New York City. The Erie Canal is the main reason New York City grew to be America's largest city. It also helped the Midwest grow much faster than the South between 1800 and 1830. All right, so after this right here, I want you to watch the next little video I have for you here today on the Erie Canal. Help you learn some more about that. Then you've just got a real short assignment, 5 questions today from this text, and I'll put the text in the questions again. Watch the video, learn more about the Erie Canal, and you'll enjoy that. We'll see you tomorrow.